Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So, today we're going to be doing another one of my classical over the board game recap videos. Um, Yesterday, I played in a classical game with my team, and we went to a different town to a very well established chess club here in the area. And we were playing against one of their teams who actually had no ELO. None of them had any official FIDE ELO. However, that was only because this is the first year they were participating in this sort of an event. And my opponent was somebody who had already played 3 or 4 games prior to yesterday in the same league. And I checked his games, and he was, he was no joke. So he had beaten somebody who was already higher rated than me, and he'd beaten a couple more opponents who were like 1,400 feet as well. So I knew that even though there was no FIDE rating on the line, whether I win or I lose, I wouldn't gain or lose anything. But I still had to take my opponent seriously and play the best chess that I could. So let's take a look at what happened. Here we go. Okay, so I was playing with the black pieces. My opponent started with d4. Um, I don't really have a repertoire, if I'm honest with you, against d4. Maybe I shouldn't say this because maybe if somebody watches this and they know they have a game against me in the future, they know that they should play d4. I just played the standard d5, and we go into the classical Queen's Gambit decline variation, which is what happened in the game. And my opponent played very standard moves, so I just I was trying to get a very normal kind of setup because I don't know any kind of theory or ways to get a slight advantage out of the opening move orders, etc. And here on move 4, he actually surprised me. He played g3, which is the Catalan opening. I am aware of that. However, I don't have any tools or weapons to meet this sort of opening because I've never. I really think I've had this position maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 times in my life, and I'm talking about including online games as well. So I really don't know what to do here. The idea is to put the bishop here on g2 and control the light squares and cutting across the board, right? And so with that in mind, I thought for a bit and decided to kind of mirror his move on the opposite side of the board and put my light square bishop on this diagonal as well, just so I could fight him on that diagonal with the same piece, right? So this is slightly inaccurate because I checked with the computer after the game, of course. And what the moves that are suggested in this position, which is something that I would probably never have come up with by myself, is the move bishop b4 check. And this is one line when the bishop blocks and you actually retreat back to e7 and you want to just castle and play in the center, take, play c5, and so forth. So maybe that is something that I will actually attempt next time I am faced with this. But okay, played b6, and we developed the bishops. Okay, pretty standard. He castled here. And I thought about, okay, what are my plans here? This pawn was hanging, so obviously I thought maybe take there, c5, but I thought maybe too early. I'd like to get castled, and I don't want to, run into any trouble of me leaving my king in the center for too long. Okay, so I took the pawn, and he gave me this check, and this is one of the points in the game where I actually took quite a bit of time because I really wanted to exchange queens. I don't know if that's what you should do, but that's how I felt due to the unfamiliarity of this position. My thought was, okay, let me exchange queens and then I'll develop my knight to d7. And happy days. We don't have any queens, so I'm in less of danger, and I'll just develop my pieces normally, castle kingside, and that's it. However, the problem with queen d7, as I calculated, I believe, was that after he captured here, my knight doesn't really have the d7 square, so it would probably have to be forced to the c6 square. But this runs into a problem now with this bishop on this diagonal, because, and also like the bishop, maybe bishop e7 is a good move here, but still I just get hit with knight to e5, and I don't like the look of that. I feel like my queen's getting chased. I haven't castled, so it wasn't something I was really looking forward to. So I had to play knight d7, and after he took, this is another move that the engine says it's fine, but practically speaking, from a human point of view, I wish I maybe hadn't played it here, because I thought, okay, I just want to get castled kingside. So bishop e7, of course, is logical. If he goes here, I stop the pin in anticipation of going to bishop g5. I stop that pin on my queen. But I also wanted to have more activity in the position. This just felt passive. And of course, the bishop can't go anywhere else. So I actually put the bishop on d6. The engine, of course, says this is fine. This is okay. No problems. He played knight c3, which is very logical. But then, this is why I wasn't so convinced about bishop d6, is because knight on c3 has the access to the b5 square, and I would not have the bishop pair anymore. I would either have to slide the bishop back after knight b5, or I would have to just give it up, and take with the pawn and see what happens. So, I mean, I had already played bishop d6, so I said, okay, let me just castle, and whatever happens, happens. If he goes after my bishop, so be it. He didn't, however. He had other plans. He played a rook to e1, with idea of clearly pushing the e pawn to e4 and striking in the center. However, I took a look at this position, and what I noticed is that his bishop, his dark square bishop, had not been developed yet, which to me is an indication, that his development hasn't been completed. So opening up the center, even though he's castled, is perhaps slightly premature, but then I could be wrong. I'm just, basing this off of things that I've learned and previous games that I played. Not like any concrete calculation here. I just, a feeling. And my position is kind of, developed. I've castled, knights are out, bishops are out, and the back rank is secure. The rooks are, everything here is protected. So I thought, okay, if he's gonna strike with e4, I have to strike with I just have to strike with c5. Okay, I have to be first. This is a good move, and what he played e4, in my opinion at the time, I thought maybe not the best move, but according to the engine, it is. So who knows? But of course, here, since I played c5, I am gonna take the pawn to attack the knight. He does threaten this fork, but I would be winning a pawn at the end of that line, because when he pushes, I would take, and then, or I could actually here take, and then after that take, and also rook c8 is coming in and putting some pressure on the queen and developing a rook to the open file with tempo. So I thought this was good for me. He took with the queen, seeing that line as well. But this gave me the chance to improve my bishop by playing it to c5 and getting this really, really nice diagonal. And of course, tempoing the queen. Okay, so he has to move the queen somewhere. He moved it back to d3. Thought this was okay. But immediately I was like, I have to play actively here. That was the one word that kept, running circles through my mind, is active play. Activate your pieces, active play, dynamic play. Let's go. And the move that, of course, I was considering was knight g4. threatening the f2 pawn. And I thought this was a good move. There was he couldn't stop it. There was just a little kind of hole here that I could take advantage of, and it started to seem to me that I was starting to be the aggressor in this game. So okay, play knight g4. He has to defend this pawn somehow. He did play the best move, so rook back to f1. However, if you noticed, I've made him undevelop his rook, if you will, because he put the rook on e1 with a purpose, but now he has to go back, using this rook just for protection of the f2 square or f2 pawn. Okay, and then this next move, I thought was a decent move. And first, I'd like to explain my thought process behind it. However, the engine said that this was the only mistake, not a blunder, just a mistake that I made during this game. So let me show you the move and explain my thoughts. So queen to c8 is the move that I played. My intention was, I had several intentions. First of all, I'm creating this kind of battery here. So I'm going to put the bishop on a6 and then, skewer the queen with the rook and put a lot of pressure in his position. And just the two bishops, aiming at the king side was something that I really wanted to do. The second idea was to get my queen off the d file, move my knight, let's say to f6, or maybe even here to e5, tempoing the queen. If we, capture here, I lose kind of like the my attack on f2, but it's something that I considered. Not that I was going to play it, but it's something I considered. Maybe f6 is better, but the intention is just to put the rook on d8. So rook d8, just cuts across the middle of the board. And I really wanted to do that because I didn't want to trade queens here, since I felt like I was, kind of starting to get active. Okay, the engine says this is a mistake. Why? I don't know, honestly. There's many very complicated lines that I looked at, but not the kind of lines that I would say a human comfortably plays. Instead, the computer suggested a5, which is something that I actually did consider, since it does set up this idea again. But okay, I just wanted to get my queen off of the d file. I played this, and here my opponent, unfortunately, did make a more serious mistake by pushing the h pawn, h3, trying to get my knight out of g4, of course. Okay, but queens are worth more than knights, so I continued with my plan, and he played knight b5, and the idea is to stop the skewer here, and probably if I try to play like queen to c6, putting more pressure on this knight, just a4 will grant enough support for that knight for now. Okay, but now as you notice, this is pinned. I got some attacks here, and this is where I started looking for tactics, because I knew that this position looks too good to be rid of any tactics. So this is where I probably took the longest think, and I calculated several variations. And I'm very happy that the move that I chose was the best one. So here I played knight takes f2, and this looks like a sacrifice of two pieces for a pawn and a rook. However, there's a follow-up that is essential to this whole combination working. And after he takes, I take and I lure the king out, and I have this check on c5 with the queen, attacking the knight twice with a check, and just winning an exchange and a pawn in the end. So I would have the two rooks. He has the two bishops, but I gave up a bishop for a rook and a pawn, which is I was pretty happy with. Here I thought his best move to counter this was bishop to e3, and I would recapture with the queen. But this way, he at least developed the bishop with a tempo, opening up the rook to the back rank. I also saw that the tricky knight block here is easily refuted by taking this knight and then this one. So still, you know, recovering that piece. However, my opponent went for this move, like a queen trade. I think he wanted, of course. So of course, I think I'm on the attacking side. His rook isn't playing, so I don't want to trade queens. So I took the knight with the queen. This is defended, and now I'm threatening to get into e2 with a pretty nasty check, and yeah, a lot of threats. So seeing this threat, my opponent retreated with the king to g1. And here I just wanted to get my rooks active. I thought maybe bringing this rook or this rook to the d file with ideas of moving the knight, attacking the queen, of course. However, I thought that if I bring the a rook to the d file, maybe this rook, actually wants to go on the c file later. So if I go here, I still have the option of playing this rook here. So okay, I played a rook f to d8. My opponent got the queen out of danger, and here I just wanted to, keep advancing, keep moving forward. And by the way, just a quick note. There was the possibility of bishop g5, which I saw here, but this is easily met with knight f6. But I still believe this is the best way to continue for white in this position. At least opening up, developing the bishop with a tempo, let's say. Okay. However, queen f2 was played. I played knight e5. I wanted to basically get my rook here, seeing that, again, the bishop had not been developed. So I want to give this check, get my rook on the back rank, and cause some real trouble. My opponent took the knight. I gave the check, of course. King only move, and I took the knight. Now, I saw this, of course, where he tempos me and attacks my rook, but I had this move here, offering the queen trade. If he took, I take. And if you take, then I take your queen. Oops, sorry. Can't draw arrows. I take your queen. So I was more than happy with this. Now, he didn't want to go for the queen trade now, which is fine. But we just, we have a lot of squares to retreat to and still keep an eye on this rook. In this position, however, my opponent decided to, he's going to trade. I think he didn't like my rook over there. Just it's a very strong rook, and of course I was threatening to take his rook. So okay, we traded here. And if you see, okay, he's pretty awkward here on the king side. The only thing I should probably worry about is that my back rank is slightly weak, let's say, because if I ever want to get my rook out, yeah, I have to play one of the pawn moves first. And that's one of the dangers with having an opponent with the two bishops, because usually, if they have one bishop, you free up the square of the color that is opposite the bishop they have. So in this case, if I play here, he has, control of the dark squares around my king. If I play there, he could also use his bishop to control the light squares around my king. But okay, this is, something that I was just taking a mental note of. My opponent decided to play bishop f3, attacking my queen. I did think about several moves here, maybe even exchanging. I thought was a decent approach. But I felt like there was no need to exchange yet, since these pawns looked a bit weak. So I played queen to b1, attacking the a2 pawn. My opponent played very quickly here, just pushed the pawn. However, I don't think this is very accurate, because really my idea with this was not to attack the pawn, but my idea was to control the c2 square, because that's where I wanted my rook to go, since, all these squares on the second rank are controlled by the queen, except for c2, which is controlled by me. And this is where, unfortunately, my opponent made his last mistake. Not seeing my idea here, he quickly played queen d2 with his own ideas of, infiltrating my back rank, playing maybe queen to d7, which is a good idea. unfortunately, I have rook c2 in this position, and this is where he resigned. Okay, so in the end, after I ran this game through the chess.com engine, it says that I played with a 96.2 accuracy, which is, if I think about the classical over the board games that I've played, I think that's probably the highest accuracy I've ever had. Let's see. It says I had 3 great moves, 15 best moves. Only one mistake, as I mentioned, which is that, queen c8 move. Okay. Um, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with this result. Uh, During the game, I thought I was, playing well. I thought I had the advantage from the early middle game, and I just felt good about the game. Felt confident. Later on, I actually had a chat with my opponent for a little bit, and he was a very nice guy. I told him about the channel. I told him I was gonna do a review of our game, but he was cool about it. So hey, if you're watching, thanks, Carlos. And yeah, it was a fun day, a great day for chess. Sundays always are, and yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and hopefully you learned a little bit of maybe something you could do yourselves against the Catalan, especially as we reviewed here at the start before playing b6. You have this option of playing bishop b4 and then back to e7 with castles and taking in the center and c5. Something I'll definitely be trying out myself. But again, this b6, although inaccurate, I thought, it says that it's a book move according to chess.com. But yeah, just gave me a pretty good game, I would say. So thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. And hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys very soon. All right. Peace.